Good morning, Bermuda. With the Christmas holidays fast approaching, I'm joined this morning by the Assistant Collector of Customs, Mr. Richard Amos, to highlight some of the processes and regulations for importing goods into Bermuda. These reminders will assist the public in ensuring they receive their packages with minimal delays. A high volume of items will be imported into Bermuda over the next few weeks, leading up to Christmas. The Customs Department would like customers to exercise patience as their items are processed. Please ensure that all correct documentation is ready for inspection. The Customs Department stresses that it must adhere to appropriate protocols by following all duty and clearance guidelines and reminds customers to check ahead of time that they have all the required forms filled out. The department would also like to remind commercial importers and persons claiming duty relief to still apply for and use a Customs Automated Processing System Identification, or CAPS ID number, when declaring goods to Customs. Any courier declaration without a valid CAPS ID number will be subject to processing delays. The online application process for CAPS ID is free. A valid form of government-issued identification and other documents may be required. Please note, the approval process takes typically 48 hours. Information on the CAPS ID can be found on the government website under www.gov.bm/online-services/apply CAPS ID number. The Customs Department also notes that recently there has been an increase in the number of undeclared items, such as unapproved COVID test kits, negotiable instruments, and unauthorized motorcycle upgrade kits. For a list of the approved COVID-19 antigen test kits, please visit the Bermuda Health Council's website. If you have any questions regarding these kits, you can email healthcouncil@bhec.bm. By law, currency and negotiable instruments exceeding $10,000 must be declared per 4 of the Bermuda Customs Declaration Notice 2015. Motorcycle upgrade kits require an import license from the Transport Control Department. A copy of all import permits, approvals, and licenses should be submitted to Customs at the declaration of the relevant goods. All properly declared goods are automatically released by CAPS at the end of the 8 hours unless given early release or queried by a reviewing officer. Importers who may be experiencing an apparent undue delay in the release of a shipment are encouraged to send an email inquiry to customs@gov.bm, including the relevant tracking information and the Bermuda Customs Declaration BCD number. General inquiries may be sent to the same email address, and a response should be received no later than the end of the next business day. Lastly, I would like to reinforce the reality of the ongoing pandemic and the effect that it has had and continues to have on shipping and delivery to the island. While we are all understandably dealing with elevated levels of stress, I would encourage the public to share the joy of the Christmas season and to avoid taking out their frustrations on our hard-working customs officers who are working tirelessly to deliver a high level of service to the public. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Minister, for your briefing. We have members of the media from the Bermuda Broadcasting Company and the Royal Gazette joining us this morning. We'll start with Bermuda Broadcasting Company if you have any questions. Jasmine, there's a mic right there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Minister Ming. Are you able to share just how extensive is the backlog of packages that you're processing at the moment in Customs?
Sure, I'm going to ask Mr. Amos if he can answer that for you.
Sure, thanks.
Mr. Amos, if you can come to the podium, please.
Thank you. At the current moment, there is no actual backlog with customs. We are fully up to date with customs releases. However, that does not mean that the customs clearing agents responsible for importing the goods have presented all the goods to customs. So I really can't speak to that in any great detail, only to say that customs is current with its releases. So anything that's been declared to us, we're releasing within the 8 hours that the minister mentioned. There are, of course, exceptions. If we catch people with, contraband, naturally you could expect extensive delays. But in the normal course of business, there is no significant delay for customs.
Sure. It was mentioned that unapproved test kits have appeared through our borders. Just what quantity, what volume have been collected?
At the moment, we haven't any test kits in custody, and we haven't actually detained any in recent weeks. The Customs Department and the Health Department have collaborated from the beginning of the pandemic on a system whereby people can apply for permission to import test kits, and approvals are automatically sent to Customs. There was a brief period during which a dozen or so test kits were detained. These were private importations which were unlicensed. However, people are now better aware of their responsibilities in that regard, and so we currently haven't had occasion to detain any test kits.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fiona?
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Mr. Amos. Greatly appreciate your time. Mr. Amos, I might actually start with yourself. I think you said just now that things seem to be up to date at the Customs Department. Do you expect that to continue over the next few weeks as we approach Christmas? I know a lot of emphasis in the comments was on customer responsibility. Is there anything that your department can do to help keep that process flowing?
Thank you for that. We don't anticipate any delays. Customs has redeployed staff to the front line, if you will, in order to cope with the increasing demands over the next 2 weeks, the peak being in 2 weeks' time on average. Because of the pandemic itself, we've experienced slowdowns in other areas of customs. So there are fewer people traveling, even though there's a slight uptick in December expected. And so we're able to creatively or flexibly redeploy staff from slow areas into the high demand areas, such as the couriers and the ocean freight and so forth.
That's very helpful. Thank you very
You're
much.
welcome.
Minister, talking obviously with regards to the run-up to Christmas, can you tell us anything about whether or not Cabinet has discussed the possibility of restrictions on either movement or mixing of households as we approach the festive season?
Thank you for your question. The Cabinet is always discussing matters related to COVID. I think you can expect to hear from the Minister of Health within the next day or two with any revisions or any updates.
So can we expect revisions or updates then? Do you expect there to be changes announced?
I think she'll be making some announcements, yes.
Okay, thank you. And also with regards to Cabinet, we've heard that the Premier has implemented some strict rules for Cabinet members, asking them not to engage in debate during meetings of the party caucus. Can you tell us if that's true, and if so, doesn't that limit healthy discussion among the party's legislature?
I'm not aware of that, and that's something I think if you've heard that from the Premier, then you can probably take it up with him.
It's not something you're aware of, though?
No, I'm not.
I appreciate that. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, members of the media, for joining us today to discuss these important matters as it relates to the Department of Customs. That concludes today's press briefing. Thank you.